Hi guys, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Nuggets News. In this video I want to cover another exciting Australian project, and that's BlockGrain. Now these guys are creating Australia's most comprehensive grain supply chain software solution. An all-in-one app and platform to reduce the inefficiencies across the entire agricultural industry and improve the decision-making process. Now I first met Sam and Kale at the Blockchain Centre a few months back. Please check out this interview we did, but they talk about addressing the shortcomings in the current system. So they've been working in this industry for a number of years. They'd identified all these real world problems. They want to help farmers with storage, logistics, data and supply chain management. They've built this basic app. They've had a minimum viable product for 2 years, but they still didn't have a way to secure, store and share all the data. And that's what led them down the path of discovering blockchain technology, smart contracts, and they moved to the Blockchain Centre in Melbourne to take the app to the next level, give it additional functionality and features. So BlockGrain is a simple to use software solution that automates the sharing of information across all major commodity supply chain participants. Now this is a huge market. We know that Australia are exporters of all these different agricultural products, but the cereal and grain industry is the largest there, 13 billion. So larger than beef, fruit, veggies, dairy, wool, all those others that we're familiar with. I think we sometimes forget how big a part cereals and grains are to the Australian economy. So as we said, this has been around for over 2 years now, and recently is when they've really ramped up the development with the Blockchain Centre and starting to develop partnerships and backings, which I'll dive into as well. So the team was just Kale and Sam when I first met them. They've now got Martin Halford as CTO, and he's worked on a number of large projects and worked at Appstar, so one of Australia's largest app development companies, plenty of experience. The team's now expanded greatly, advisors and team members, and I'm honoured to say that this is the first and only project that I can genuinely say that I want to be involved with and be an ongoing advisor. So I know that might be a conflict of interest for a few of you, but I'll go into detail about how we've gone around and ways to mitigate that. So advantages of BlockGrain. So this is the current process. We see it's very fragmented or siloed. So farm, then freight to the bulk handlers, and then to domestic ports, then overseas, then processors and the end user. And there's a lot of risk and inefficiencies involved in each stage of this supply chain. So check out the white paper. This is honestly one of the best white papers I've read. Check out all the problems they've identified. That BlockGrain app that encompasses everything from factory to plate. You can scan a product in a supermarket in China, and we know people are paying premium prices for those organic and premium products. So all these solutions to fix the real world problems that they've identified, and that's what we love to see. So these guys have already won a few awards as well. They've got backing by the Queensland government. We've had huge interest already from the US Department of Agriculture. You know, not only that, but we've had interest from the National Council of Farmers Cooperatives in the US. You know, Australia's largest grain brokerage group. We've got access to 10,000 farmers. We recently presented at Australia's largest grain exchange, the largest agronomic software company in Australia. We've signed a memorandum of understanding with as well. So there's plenty of businesses that have already seen this and know that this is going to help them. And we already have a number of farmers in Australia using the beta version of this app. So it's a 2-token economy. So the AGRI token itself is used throughout the ecosystem. It's the fuel. So we're all familiar with, you know, Ethereum acting as the fuel for the ecosystem, or gas in the Neo ecosystem, for example. So AGRI token is used to create all these different commodity contracts at each stage of the supply chain, as well as being the fuel that powers the entire system, paying the transaction fees for these different contracts. So we want to create this BlockGrain marketplace, freight contracting, tendering, supply chain tracking, commodity management. We've talked to farmers who don't even know what they've got, you know, in terms of stocking quantities, and they're getting these, you know, contracts or requests, and they don't have accurate information. We're seeing farmers that are still recording, you know, with pen and paper or Excel spreadsheets. So, you know, this app's very exciting for us, and one that we definitely think is going to help farmers start to do more business directly with different parts of that ecosystem. So we'll also use AGRI with different rewards and try and give that real incentive for farmers to onboard. So seed token is the second token in this economy, and what seed token does is represents credit or an IOU. So what we found is, in terms of contracting, no one wants to pay millions of dollars until they have that grain. Now that represents risk in a time period for the seller and the buyer. So seed creates an IOU, a percentage of that contract, so that further up the chain can start to pay the appropriate people or get paid if you're the seller. And then once that contract is settled, it's signed off, that we replace that seed token, it gets burnt, and all the people that participated in that transaction get paid with the AGRI token. So it's a two-tier blockchain system as well, and we're still tinkering and getting this right about what information we want on the public blockchain on the Ethereum mainnet, and what information has to be kept confidential and private on a second layer. So check out that white paper, as I said, for more detail, but we know that we can tinker with how much information is on that public blockchain for transparency, but there's certain information that we just have to keep private for security reasons, and we can also unlock that in terms of paying with AGRI to access all this different data. And we've spoken on the channel before about how big data is a real commodity that those big corporations are happy to pay for. So on the future roadmap, we've got expansion into other industries. So we're already working in the fruit industry. We've had interest from the wool industry, and obviously we can expand into livestock, cattle, and so forth in the future. This is a generic app that can very easily be applied to other sectors. So the upcoming ICO, I'll touch on how you can register for that. I'll touch on the token economics, but we've had a very small private pre-sale, and we're very selective about not wanting to go to institutions, VCs, or any whales. So the private pre-sale has been a few $1 million to retail investors only, with no bonus. So that was my involvement, token economics and ICO structure. And I've spoken on the channel about how I'm not a fan of these ICOs that do big bonuses to private and pre-sale investors. So there is no bonus, no gimmicks. What you see is what you get. All participants in this ICO will be getting the same price. We want to let our product do the talking when it hits market. So here's the distribution. So 30% might sound like a small percentage in terms of the public sale, but this is the public growth pool as well here. And not only that, but this commodities contract fund stays at 30%. So this is used and stored to back all the different contracts that are going on in this ecosystem. So this is forever 30% that is not in circulating supply, guys. So that's why that number sounds a bit small. This is locked up, always stays at 30%, never in circulating supply. Again, read that white paper for more details. And as I touched on before, the team and the advisors such as myself, we believe in this project. All our tokens are locked for 2 years. So there's no incentive or no way for us to sell at all until that 2-year period is up. So I'm a big believer that this project is going to succeed long term. So check out their website there. There's an example of the app for the growers managing their on-farm storage, as we see more and more now farmers storing on their farm, and we're going to free up that so we don't have to interact with the middlemen and those bulk handlers, and we can get those logistics companies and brokers to deal directly with the farmers. So a little look at the broker app there and a little look at the logistics. So in the future, this opens up so many possibilities in terms of self-driving trucks in the future. Google Maps are going to need this data about where these trucks are driving on farms. Open up that marketplace. When you've got your grain ready to go on the farm, you can organize for a truck to come and pick it up rather than a middleman. All those aspects of cutting out and decentralizing this industry and giving the power back to the farmer is what I'm probably most excited about. So that public token sale registration begins on the 31st of March. Check out the white paper, do your own research, guys. There's plenty of competition in this space. I've covered a number of these logistics, supply chain management style projects, and it's a great use and application of this technology, but it certainly is a competitive space. I know AGRI Digital are also in this space as well. So as I said, do your own research. I'm very excited about this project. the world and the population is a growing place. We're going to need to feed all those mouths, and we're not going to be able to do so at the current rate with all the inefficiencies that exist in the current system. So I hope you've enjoyed that presentation, guys. Please hit like, subscribe if you haven't already, share these videos around, and as always, thanks for tuning in, guys. Cheers.